think Noah, I don't even know if Noah's alive for this event, but
I've been
I wanted
alive
to bring
for a while
I know
now.
I wanted to bring this up, because I want to keep, I want people I think the podcast is an interesting place for people to learn some stuff about like our past as well.
Bring up topics, to put stuff on the spot. Okay, where are you going with this?
No. No, I wanted to talk about, do you remember, as our reptile, we've been doing this for 30 something years, and obviously, there's been some pinnacle moments, I think, that really helped us grow as a business. And I always say that I think that the first thing that ever happened to us that was amazing, that really took us from like pretty low rung to like, oh man, these guys are serious, was the albino Honduran milk snake. And for you guys to know, we brought the very first albino Honduran milk snakes into the country back, I don't even know, it was like early 90s. Yeah. And at the time we had a pretty decent sized collection of snakes, but we were just, one of so many people that had almost, snow corns and ghost corns. And then our friend over in Germany, Stefan Broghammer from M&S Reptilian, contacted us. And this was before emails. So he called me and he said, hey, a customer of mine produced
That's
an
how long
albino.
ago, children?
People
before
called.
the internet.
Before the interwebs. Before Al Gore invented the internet. So anyways, so he called up and it was, I can't remember, I think it was like $2,500 for this albino Honduran baby. And I think there was two. So I think we paid $5,000 and then there was some possible hats or something on that lines. So that was a lot of money because we were like early 20s. We
and
just.
I think if I'm not mistaken, you were still working a job at that
time. I was absolutely working a job. Yeah. That's where the actual story gets interesting, really, and because of how we did it. So anyways, we send him money without even seeing pictures of this animal.
Oh God, that's risky.
No idea. Yeah, it's really risky, and we had never imported any animals before ever. Really importing and exporting at the time was really rare. I mean, there wasn't a lot of snakes being imported or exported. So I remember, Lori, I don't know how many months it took you to figure out how to just even import. I mean, because that had to be hard just to figure, because you can't, there
was no internet.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Read
so
books.
it was a lot of phone calls. Phone calls and finding out and doing stuff that way and mailing forms and
that's right. We had to mail. Yeah, it was like you couldn't fax or email the form. You'd have to mail them. Yeah.
Wow.
So the moral of the story, not the moral, but so we finally get to a point where we're ready to ship, like we're ready to go. And I can't remember exactly. Like, so I was working a job and we had to go to Chicago.
Yeah. So you worked and then from there.
Yeah, I worked at like 5 o'clock at night. We drove all the way to Chicago.
Drove to Chicago O'Hare.
Yeah. And then we missed one piece of paperwork. Remember that? We got there and they were like, oh, where's your, whatever, 4177 or whatever the case is, because no one, like you said, what the problem was, right? You talk to Fish and Wildlife, they give you what they need, but then customs needs something else, and then this person, then the airline needs something else.
I'm lost, guys.
Yeah,
I'm lost.
Well, so it was a lot of paperwork.
A lot of paperwork. So
we get there, and Lori is. I remember you like. Lori doesn't cry much. I remember you like crying
because she worked so hard, and because
this was a Friday, and I was actually, the weird thing is I had to work at 5 a.m. on Saturday. So I worked all day, drove there, had to drive home and go right to work. And if we didn't get them Friday, this was wintertime too, it's February or March, they would have to stay there till Monday. And this is in winter, it was kind of scary. So anyways, point is, finally get the paperwork. Thank God someone at Customs did it. We get this box, and I remember opening up the box, and for the very first time, we saw the albino Honduran milk snakes. Do you remember that all, Lori?
Yeah.
I mean, what did you think about it? I mean, they were beautiful, weren't they? I know, she's just shaking her
head.
What
do you think about that?
Yeah, it was nice. It was beautiful. But so anyways, we get them, we drive home. The whole story was, my point is that this was so incredible that we made this, well, no, there's more to it.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so we get home, and like I said, I've got like a half hour before I have to go to work.
Yeah.
So I like take a shower, whatever. I go to work. It's a short day because it's a Saturday. It was a 5-hour day. I get home at like 12:30, and the entire house is tore apart.
What does that mean?
It means the whole house is tore apart, and Lori's like,
Mom lost the freaking snakes?
I get up and I go. So they were in bags, and they were tied in bags. So I go and I open it up and I untie the bag, and one of the snakes was just gone.
It was just gone.
It was untied.
The albino.
And I looked everywhere. Like I was tearing the house apart. It's just gone. Yeah.
Oh, and you know, actually, let me back up a second here, because if you remember, we were on the way to the airport. Or no, we weren't on the way. It was earlier in the morning. I got a call from Stefan saying that one of the two were gone from his shop. He couldn't find it. It had gotten out of the cage. So now the shipment was coming. Remember that? And he thought maybe someone had stole it. And these were the only ones in the world. So I was like, I paid for the only ones. Now someone else may have stolen the one. Now I've got competition type of thing. Do you remember that?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
but we opened them. We had opened them when we got them, so we knew we had them.
Right. Well,
in Chicago.
My point was that he found the snake and had his guy have to drive 2 hours back to the airport to open the shipment to put both albinos in. And so yeah, we knew we had them. We got home. I get home. The snake is gone. One of the snakes.
Yeah. And so you. Same thing. We're just tearing everything apart.
Okay.
It has to be here somewhere or whatever. And I don't even know how that even happened.
It was crazy, but literally, so ultimately, after we're going crazy and I'm flipping out and stuff like that, there's a styrofoam box inside a wooden crate. That's how you have to ship international. And I go, did you check in the box? And I remember her like yelling at me, do you think I'm a fucking idiot or something crazy like that?
Probably.
Yeah, something on that lines.
Yeah.
And I literally, as she's yelling at me, I pull the box out and it's curled up underneath the styrofoam.
Under the styrofoam,
and you're
between the thing.
You were like, what'd you just say you were, honey?
Yeah. No. Trust me, I was just so happy. I was like, thank the Lord. But and then I remember we went right down and put him in cages.
That's horrible.
But
that's gotta be stressful.
It was, but I just thought it was an interesting story, just from the standpoint that there were two males, and like I remember when we finally produced the albinos, we had also had the Aneuristic Hondurans from David Doherty. Remember when we bought that from down in Florida? So I remember flying to Houston, Texas for a show at the ETHS, and I remember leaving with like $20 in my pocket. We were young, so money was like, we weren't making tons of money.
But he always spent it all.
I was good at spending money.
Eric Chambers.
Yeah, the thing is, like, what's that saying?
Pretty much.
You never have to worry about your kids doing drugs if they're into snakes, because they're so broke from buying snakes. That was me. But I remember flying down to the ETHS with like $20, and this was before airplane security, because you helped me with this.
Yes,
remember this?
Yes.
We both literally, this was like, she could come to the gate with me, even if she wasn't flying.
Yeah.
So we both had like all these Honduran milk snakes like taped to our body. Like taped to our body. And then when we get through security, you go to the bathroom and you take them all off and put them in your bag.
No. We weren't the only ones. People did it all the time.
Yeah, people did it all the time. It was like the smugglers.
No.
It wasn't really smuggling. It was like, just safe shipping.
Instead of shipping. Yeah.